Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So the sentencing has happened. Richard Allen has been sentenced to 130 years in prison. 130 years. 65 years for Abby and 65 years for Libby. So onward to the appeal, because there is going to be one. There absolutely is going to be one. And it came out yesterday from the prosecutor's office that there is going to be a press conference. So this is why I'm here. Not that I want to watch a press conference with smarmy Nick McClelland, but I kind of feel that I need to watch it. It's one of those car crash scenarios where the scene's horrible and you're gawping at it and you can't look away. So that's where we're at. And I thought, well, we can scream at the screen together. That's what I thought. Yeah, it's sick. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. Sickening. The trial was a sham, an absolute sham. And it was obvious, absolutely obvious, that Judge Gull was going to go to the maximum. And the maximum she could give him was 130 years before he's eligible for parole. So there's that. All right, I'm going to share my screen while we wait to find out where this press conference is going to be held. And some of this crap that's being said on Twitter already is irritating the life out of me. He's now called the Delphi assassin. The Delphi assassin. Gull is a monster. Without a shadow of a doubt, she's a monster. So that's Court TV. I know Court TV will have the press conference. That must be from today. That's a new picture. That's an old picture. During the morning sentencing hearing, family members of Libby German and Abby Williams addressed Richard Allen. Okay. I'll never understand how you were able to get away with this for so long, said Carrie Timmons, Libby German's mom. We'll read some of these articles. If anybody gets a whiff of where this press conference is being shown, like it said that it was going to be half an hour after, like approximately half an hour after the court kicks out. So that's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Yeah, and there you have it. The evil Judge Gull sentenced wrongfully convicted man Richard Allen to 130 years for a crime he did not commit. I cannot wait for a fair appeal with real judges taking a look at the corruption in Delphi, if that's possible. If it's possible. I do believe in karma, and I believe Judge Gull will get hers one day. He is hoping. We may never see it, but I take some comfort knowing that all her terror imparted on the innocent will come back to her eventually. We live in hope. We live in hope. But do you know what? In my experience, some people can do the evilest of things and they never get caught. And people like Judge Gull have got the moral high ground. They have the moral high ground. Justice not served. And if it's injustice for the person who's been convicted, then there is absolutely zero justice for the victims. As simple as that. There's no justice for the victims. This animal belongs on death row, waiting a date with the executioner. Okay, cool. Cool. Good for you. I'm looking for the Delphi assassin comment, but I can't find it now. Can't find it. Because everybody's reporting on this now. Anyhow, I'm going to take a look on YouTube to see if we've got a news channel that's on here with the presser. There's lots of people live, but I want a news channel so that I can stream it. Stream the presser. You want more information on what? Yeah. More information on what the jury convicted him on. Yeah. WTHR are going to cover it. Okay. They do have a news channel. WTHR. Hold on a minute. News conference on Richard Allen's sentencing. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got a channel. WTHR. There we are. Thank you, whoever it was who did that. So we're waiting for them. Meanwhile, that'll just carry on in the background. I want to read a couple of these articles. I want to see what the families were quoted as saying. Where was that one? That was a quote from Carrie. I feel so sorry for the families. I really do. I really do feel sorry for the families because they've been as hoodwinked as anybody. Like all of these people. Look, for a long time, they're all there on my channel. Like, I've not hidden anything. You can go back and you can see that I was very pro Rick Allen's guilty up until the memorandum came out. And then I started to think, and even then, I still thought, well, he's probably guilty. However, this is compelling. This is very compelling. But the more you look, the more you see. And if you've got an open mind, I could have just stuck with my guns. I could have just thought, no, he's guilty. It's a done deal. He's guilty. That all the defense are trying to do is hoodwink us all. All the defense are trying to do is protect the client, which is, them doing their job. I could have done that. But I didn't, because I never do that. If new information comes out on any case, and that information is compelling, and it's more compelling than my current view, then I'll change my view. Simple as. I'm not wedded to any theory on any case that I've ever covered. But there are, yes, exactly. Thank you, Like the Way. There are people who get fixated on small issues, and there's people who get fixated on one theory. And especially when that theory is endorsed by the state. Because look, very often who the state charges is the person who did it. Very often. But in some cases, that isn't the case. And the information that has come out, bear in mind there's been a gag order all this time, the information that has come out about what evidence the state has against Rick Allen is far less compelling than the evidence that there is against Rick Allen being the guy. WHR, this is the one. Oh, of course you're going to deny my access, right? I'm going to have to put my VPN on, so I might disappear for a second, but I'll come straight back. I have to go and pretend I'm in the United States to read this. United States, so I can now read it. Okay. All right. Okay. I do still have the presser on the other window. So as soon as there's sound on that other window, I will hear it and I'll swap it over. These families will deal with your carnage forever. Judge sentences Richard Allen to 130 years for Delphi murders. Close ad. Richard Allen was sentenced 130 years. Special Judge Francis Gould sentenced Allen 65 years for the murder, 65 years for the murder for Abby, and 65 years for Libby. Maximum length for both the charges. Gould said, "You rank high up there with the most hideous crimes she's presided over in 27 years. Gould told the court there was a generational impact on the families of the two girls. The term was coined by Libby's grandmother in speaking to the judge and courtroom, saying the impact of these murders is going to last for generations. These families will deal with your carnage forever," Gould said when looking directly at Allen. "You sit there and continue to just roll your eyes at me." Well on. Good for you, Rick. Good for you. If you roll your eyes at Judge Gould, good on him. Good on him. In November, jury found Allen guilty on 4 murder charges, 2 for each girl. Under Indiana state law, an individual can only be sentenced for murdering an individual once. Counts 1 and 2 were dismissed by the judge. They were the felony murders. They were the original charges. So he was sentenced on counts 3 and 4, which were murder 1, or whatever they call it in Indiana. Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McClelland asked the judge to seal the autopsy and crime scene photos, which were a big part of Friday morning's hearing. The family of Abby and Libby lashed out against the defense team, saying they allowed recklessness to allow those photos to be leaked online, causing tremendous harms to the families. Look, I don't mind the crime scene photos being sealed. Of course they should be. And I also don't mind the autopsy report being sealed, even though I'd like to read the autopsy reports. These two poor children are minors. All right, so I understand that. Regarding mitigating factors, Gould noted Allen has no previous criminal history, but said, based on the heinous nature of the crime, she did not give any weight to that. Carrie Timmons, Libby's mother, said during sentencing that it has been an absolute hell for Libby's family for 8 years. She said she was left with a literal hole in my soul. And I feel so sorry for them because they have been hoodwinked. Just like the people who consistently have just got fixated on Rick Allen's guilt and nothing else matters. I'll never understand how you were able to get away with it for this long, said Timmons. Well, the reason why he got away with it for this long is because he didn't do it. So actually, you need to be asking that question to the prosecutor's office, Carrie, with the greatest of respect, as to how it's got this far, like 8 years down the line, and the crime still hasn't been solved. You need to ask the prosecutor that question, in my opinion. The grandparents of one of the victims spoke directly to Alan, saying they could not forgive him at this point. They said they still sit with a tremendous amount of pain. The gag order was lifted by Gould on Friday. Families have not been able to speak throughout the course of the trial and leading up to the trial. I hate it when gag orders are extended to families. I don't think families of any victim should be gagged. I really don't. I can understand there being a gag order for the attorneys and the court staff, but I've never got my head around why the families of victims are gagged. Michelle is nervous. Navalous. Michelle is navalous. Yeah, I am. I live in Ireland with my husky. Alan asked for his family not to be present at the sentencing. Jennifer Auger from Alan's defence team spoke briefly with reporters after the sentencing, saying, "What they went through is unimaginable. We are looking forward to the next steps in our appeals. Other than that, we have nothing to say." So this is her, I think. Can you hear this ad, by the way? Why won't I admit that I'm navalous? I won't. All right. Jen, how would you feel? How would you feel if I could show you a video where me and Navalus talk at the same time? How would you feel about that? I like that. Today's not the day. Today's not the day. Oh, shut up. In a sentencing memorandum filed December 19th, one day before sentencing, Alan's attorney said he maintains his innocence and looks forward to the appellant process. That was snark. That was snark central, snark 101. Did anybody read? Did anybody read? Oh, saying that they weren't participating. They weren't participating in the pre-sentencing anything because it wasn't worth Richard Allen speaking to state actors. It was great. I have mad skills switching between a Northern English accent and an Irish accent. And also, my dogs are fantastic morphing between the 3 different breeds that they are and the husky. So I don't know which is better at it. All right. Richard Allen believes he will be afforded due process under the law and will be permitted to present a full and complete defence at a future trial in this cause. Thank you, Kindness Kate, for the $9.99. Thank you so much. It is tragic, absolutely tragic. Has justice really been served? No, not at all. If you convict the wrong person, then that's an injustice for that person and their family, but it's also and equally injustice for the victims and their families. But thank you so much for understanding. For that reason, as well as all other reasons identified herein, Richard Allen, 1, chooses not to participate in the pre-sentencing process. 2, will not be presenting evidence at the sentencing hearing outside of this memorandum. And 3, his attorneys will be speaking and articulating arguments in minimal fashion during his sentencing hearing. Below is video of Alan's lawyers leaving the Carroll County Courthouse. During pre-sentencing hearings, Gull ruled Alan's defence team could not present third-party suspects or alternate theories about the murders, including that the girls were killed in a pagan ritual. Alan's attorneys have 30 days to file an appeal, which they will be doing. Wait, we've got some gifted memberships here. Hold on. 1 second. 1 second. Thank you. Oh, Purple Lady has gifted 20 memberships. Thank you so much. We've got Bamacat. We've got Free Ricky Bay. We got Karen. We got Pitbulls Across America. We got True Seeker. We got Jen. We got Jan. We also got, oh, this is a nightmare going all down this. Hold on. Oh, it's jumped. I'm not going to read them all. But if you've been gifted a membership by Purple AJ, please thank her. And you're an absolute superstar. And you 20, you get a month's free membership. Go and check out the members area. Go and check it out. Go and check it out. Go and check it out. All right. We got some movement here on the old presser. We got some movement here. So we'll stay on this. We'll stay on this. I can turn my VPN off now. Oh, here they come. Here they come. This is going to be sickening. Do they have closed captions? No. Here we are. Here we are. Right, I'm going to move out here. Or else you're going to hear me screaming. We can do all the mutual screaming together afterwards. I can't. It's not got subtitles.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Piers with Indiana State Police. I'd like to thank you all for being here today and for your continued cooperation throughout the course of this trial. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to the Canal Center for allowing us to use their facility today. As we move forward, we remain committed to keeping Abigail Williams and Liberty German at the center of our focus. Their memory has guided us every step of the investigation, and the photo displayed behind us serves as a powerful reminder of why we're here and what this case has always been about. Due to the gag order, it has been some time since we have spoke publicly about this case. Now that the order has been lifted, we're grateful to be here today and speak to all of you. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you the speakers: Mike Patty from the families, Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, and Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McClelland. At the conclusion of their remarks, Prosecutor McClelland will take a limited number of questions, and he has requested that all questions be directed to him. On behalf of those standing behind me here today, and all those who have dedicated countless hours into this investigation, we thank you all for your continued support. I'd like to introduce to you our first speaker, Mike Patty.
Thank you, Jeremy. I don't have a nice speech all prepared. It was kind of a last minute thing here, but I really wanted to take the time to send out my appreciation that justice has been served for the girls. I want to thank the jurors. Hope they get a chance to see this, that they took time out of their lives and remained open-minded and objective and was able to look at the information and deliver a verdict. For that, I will always be grateful. The community. This community has embraced our families from day one and continues to lift us up and support us. And again, for that, I'll always be grateful. I want to thank them. The investigative team and the prosecution, thank you for staying steadfast and continuing to work towards this. It's been almost 8 years coming. If I live to make it 80, it'll almost be 10% of my life. It's been spent working on this. And to the judge, I want to thank her as well for her steadfast staying on course, staying on track, and helping us get through this. Thank you very much. Tony?
Good morning. The end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 completely changed the fabric of Carroll County. We lost 6 beautiful young girls, and all of that happened within a 6-month time span. My office is not a part of the investigation into the Flora fires that's being headed up by the state police. We would do anything that they would ask for us to do, and I know they're working extremely hard on that case as well. Carroll County is a tight-knit community, about 20,000 people. It used to be a place where people didn't lock their doors. I believe that the verdict and the sentencing will help ease some of that sense of security for the people of Carroll County. The people who live here are very resilient. I think you can see that just in the families, the Germans, the Patties, the Williams. Carroll County is an amazing place to live, to work, to raise your family. I want to thank all of the people of Carroll County and the families for their patience during this investigation. I keep hearing the word closure. People are coming up to me saying, I bet that you're glad that there's finally closure. There will never be any closure in this case. The Germans and the Williams family lost their daughters, their granddaughters, their siblings. Justice, a form of justice was served, but it does not bring Abby or Libby back. These families will live every day without 2 of the most important people in their lives. They're missing milestones because of a low-life coward decided to take their innocent lives. They did not deserve this. Today is not closure. It is just turning the page and starting a new chapter. My heart is and always has been broken for these families. I want them to know that we stand with them, and I want to apologize to them that it took 8 years for us to get to this point. This case was quite the undertaking for the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. There are so many people that put a lot of time in assisting us with bringing it to a conclusion. You see a lot of them right here, and there are many that aren't standing up here. There are so many agencies to thank for standing by our side. Just to give you an idea of the support that we had just for the trial, we had 36 outside agencies help us for just the security during the trial. On the afternoon of February 14th, at least that many came to help us investigate this case. Everyone from detectives down to dispatchers to help investigate or just to answer phones. I remember a conversation after we found the girls with Jerry Holman about whether or not we were going to take the case or Indiana State Police were going to take the case. Well, it was not my decision. It was not my decision, but I knew we didn't have the resources needed to do this on our own. Holman made a commitment that if we took the case, ISP wouldn't leave us and they would stand by our side and provide any of those resources that we needed, and they did just that. Tobe Lesenby was the sheriff at the time, and he asked ISP to stand with us. I want to thank Doug Carter and the rest of the Indiana State Police for being with us during this time. The reason justice was served today was due to one person, a person that only knows how to give. She has given herself literally for free to this investigation in different ways since about March of 2017. Kathy Shank, while filing, scanning, organizing, found a tip that led us to be here today. Throughout this investigation, especially when things happened during the month, for things that happened during the month of 2017, that was a time when Kathy was not helping us. When she would come across something that she didn't know, she would always bring that to an investigator. And every time that she brought us something and said, "Did you know this?" We knew it, except for the tip that she brought us that got us here today. To borrow a term I believe was started by Becky Patty, a saying that meant enough to me that I had it on a sticker on my computer, in my car, and on my refrigerator at home. The goal was actually to be able to say the words, and they ring true. There is zero doubt that justice has been served, and today is the day. Thank you.
I had prepared remarks today, but I decided walking in here that I wasn't going to read them. John Perrine reminded me that 2,866 days ago, this entire thing began. I didn't know what I would think, and I didn't realize today we were going to be walking into the same room where many of you were, I believe in, again, from memory, April of 2019 or that time frame. And over the course of these last many years now, several of us, me included, have been mocked and ostracized for our emotion, for our inability to answer questions that you might ask, and the thought that we're something other than human beings. I'm not going to apologize for that. I often say I wish people could see what goes on behind the scenes, and not just with people dressed like me, but citizens of this county and of this city. It's amazing, amazing acts of unbelievable courage and self-service and self-sacrifice. I wish you all could have been in the courtroom today and heard the victim impact statements. I'll always remember them. And I hope you'll get the transcripts and read what was said and try and understand the context of those words, even though you weren't in the courtroom. Over the course of these last many years, there have been many investigative strategies. Any notion of a cover-up, any notion of us deciding the outcome of this, any notion of any connection to anything else is not correct. It's not correct. I've never been a detective in my entire lifetime, but I get to represent some of the best on the planet Earth. And I listened to them intently. And when they made strategy decisions associated with what the next steps would be, my job was to support them, and I stand by those decisions, every single one of them. The gag order. We lived by that. We lived by that gag order. The defense did not. And it cost a human life. Anybody that shares those photographs of those two little girls should be held accountable, whether they're in the public sphere, whether they're emailed to you, whether you found them in a place you didn't want them to see. I hope that if you ever see them, you'll picture your own children as Abby and Libby. I'll never forgive that. I will never, ever forgive that. We lived by the gag order. Documents were released from the defense that drove a public narrative that many of you talked about. And damn it, I wish I could have responded, but I was not going to violate what Judge Gall said. So they were able to get these documents out there and create a public narrative that you and many others, many of you and many others believed around the globe. Baldwin and Rossi are responsible for that, not this team. The family effects, I think you'll see the words that were spoken by the folks that spoke today about their lives and how they've been forever changed, how they'll never be the same. And they said it in ways that were beautiful in some kind of a mysterious way. There's an attorney in Indianapolis by the name of Guy Relford. And I heard Guy on the radio after the verdict when a lot of hate mail came, death threats came. And I heard Guy Relford say that day on the radio, and I called him 15 minutes after he said it. And after 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective. But he said the only people that mattered in that courtroom was the jury. And he went on to talk about, he's a very bright attorney. He went on to talk about what they can see that we can't, that you couldn't. They could see the defense. They could see the state. They could see the witnesses, feel the emotion, and they could see Richard Allen. I've never thought about that perspective because we have a singular view most times. You, me, it's human nature. Judge Gall was the keeper of the peace in that courtroom, but the people that mattered were those 12 jurors. And we have a system of justice that allows them to decide the fate of a human being. That's what our founders had established. And that's what they did. I hope you all understand that what you say and how you report matters more than you can ever possibly comprehend. This is an opportunity for us to all learn about what social media is and isn't, what we should do and what we shouldn't, and understand that their words have consequences to other human beings. I appreciated Guy's perspective, and it changed my view of the criminal proceeding. Richard Allen knew. We live in a country where people can hate. People can say things about other people. And that's okay. Hate me. It's okay. It's one of the only countries in the world where you can. So hate me if you want to. The investigative collaboration is something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it. I'll crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar. Jerry Holman gave the last 8 years of his life to something much greater than himself. We fussed with each other throughout the course of this in conclusion. We argued with each other. I remember Tobe and I had an argument right here in this other room in April of 19, as you should expect us to. There was no groupthink. We debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then the defense spins it into incompetence. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous nonsense for Baldwin and Rossi to have done that. And finally, most importantly, to the Delphi community and to the family of Abby and Libby. Words cannot possibly explain what we all feel. But what Nick McClellan did and the rest of the team that was associated with this, every single time it was about something other than themselves. It was about this community and that family. And we owe them a debt of gratitude that can never possibly be repaid. How about we start to heal now? How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served, and if you don't like justice in this country, go to another one. Let's heal. Tone down the rhetoric. Stop all the politics and all the nonsense and all the conspiracy theories, and understand that we all tried the best we could. That should be the message to us and to our kids, and to this most amazing place we call the United States of America. Well done. Thank you all.
Good morning. Can we all just have a little bit of a sigh of relief that this thing is over finally? The convictions come in. We've got the verdict. We got the sentence, 130 years in the Department of Corrections. And while I don't think ever this verdict or this conviction will ever bring peace to the family, I hope that they can take this sigh of relief with me to say that this part of the trial is over, that we got the conviction, that we got the sentence that brings justice for Abby and Libby. A few of the things I am going to say are going to echo what Sheriff Liggett said, what Superintendent Carter said, and what Mike Patty said. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank some people along the way. Law enforcement, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, Indiana State Police, Department of Natural Resources, all the agencies that assisted in this investigation and the prosecution of the defendant, I want to thank. They were attacked by members on the internet for their integrity. They were called corrupt. They were called evil. And they were called liars. And they weathered that storm with professionalism and did what they could to be a shield for the families. Spent countless hours chasing down leaks of crime scene photos, countless hours attempting to scrub the internet of those crime scene photos, and countless hours trying to protect the family as best as they could. And so to them, ISP, Carroll County Sheriff's Department, DNR, the other agencies that assisted, thank you. We would not be here today if it were not for your efforts and your countless hours that you sacrificed away from your family and your friends to give us the evidence that we needed to get the conviction. I want to thank my team, Stacy Diener, James Luttrell. There is no way I could have tried this case without them. We spent countless hours working on this case, away from our families, away from our friends, and no one will understand the heart and the effort that they poured into this. So thank you. I want to thank Kathy Shank. She kept us well fed. She was the grandmother of our office, if you will. She made sure that whatever we needed, she took care of, and she never complained. And without her, we would not be here. Without her countless hours of going over filings, of scanning in documents, of looking at reports, and having the wherewithal to bring this to the attention of Sheriff Liggett, to say, hey, I haven't seen this before. Has anybody followed up with this person? Without her, we would not be here. Without her, we would not have an arrest, a conviction, and a sentence. She was the key part to this investigation, the needle in the haystack, if you will, that brought this investigation to a close to where we could make an arrest. Kathy Shank, I thank you. And finally, the family, the Williams, the Germans, the Patties. Thank all you guys. The support you gave me throughout this, those times when I said you had to abide by the gag order, that you wanted to respond to the things that were being put out there, the allegations against you, against your family members, that you respected me to the point where you were willing to agree to abide by that gag order for the betterment of the case. The fact that you supported me throughout it, and I know there may be times you doubted, but you endured. And without your help, we wouldn't have got the conviction. And without your victim impact statements and the graceful words that you gave to the court about how this has influenced your lives, we wouldn't have got the sentence that we got. 130 years, maximum sentence on each count. And so I thank you. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Abby and Libby themselves. Libby for recording the defendant as he walked across the bridge, having the wherewithal to pull out her phone and record that individual, having the wherewithal to know that something wasn't right. Arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, that recording of their killer. And then to Abby for hiding the phone from the killer so that he couldn't take it with him, hiding the phone so that law enforcement could find it and get that piece of evidence that Libby had collected. Without the efforts from those two little girls, we wouldn't be here today. So Abby and Libby, thank you. I want to say we're very happy with the jury's verdict. We're elated with the judge's ruling, or not the judge's ruling, the judge's sentence. The sentence is appropriate. As Judge Gall stated in court, the aggravators outweighed the mitigators, and the heinous nature of this crime deserve a fully executed sentence. I'll end with this. I want to thank the media for keeping this case in the forefront, for keeping the tips coming in for us to investigate. But I will leave you this word of caution. Please, as Superintendent Carter said, the crime scene photos are still out there, and more may be out there in the future. Please, if you receive those, delete those. Don't forward those on. Don't re-victimize the family and the other family members. You can write whatever story you want and report however you want. You do not need those crime scene photos to do so. All it does is re-victimize the families and hurt the reputation of Abby and Libby. So please, if you get those, do not forward those on. If you get any other crime scene photos or autopsy photos or anything, don't forward those on. As Superintendent Carter said, imagine if they were your kids, your grandkids. You can write a story without having those pieces as part of the narrative. So please, do not forward those on. I want to thank the community finally. Everybody in the community locally has supported my office, supported law enforcement. The show of support from them has been just unforgettable. I appreciate everything everyone's done. I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate the handshakes, the support, everything that everybody's done throughout this course of the 8-year investigation. When this investigation started, I was actually a defense attorney. I ran for the prosecutor's office in January 1st of 2018, and I knew coming into that office that this case was one that I would have to investigate. And I made it one of my goals not only to investigate it, but to get an arrest, have the trial, and get a conviction. And all the support I had throughout that time, I appreciate it. And so, as Trooper Pierce said, I'm going to answer a few questions. The gag order is lifted. You're more than welcome to talk to anybody up here individually afterwards if they want to talk to you. But I will take a few questions here and now. It's not easy. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes because I've never had a child die. And so it's very difficult. It took a lot of phone calls, text messages, meetings. A lot of it was, hey, try not to read that stuff that you see on the internet, which is easier said than done. But a lot of it was just moral support and leaning on each other to say, we can't violate the gag order. Let's keep our eye on the ball. We need to get the trial and we want to try to get the conviction, and then we can talk. And so it was just a lot of words of encouragement between each other, moral support, text message, phone calls, those kind of things. Go ahead.
What happened with Ms. O'Shea at the end of the hearing? What was that fight about?
It wasn't a fight. She was just commenting about some things that were said at sentencing, and I'm just going to keep those things to myself. Well, I don't know if she got up in my face. I'll just keep those things to myself. She was just commenting on things that were said at the sentencing. Yes, ma'am.
The defense has made it clear they plan to appeal. Your thoughts on their chances?
Well, it's not up to the defense. It's up to the defendant. I'm not going to repeat his name. He's the defendant at this point. And so he has 30 days to file notice with the court that he wants to appeal. If he doesn't file that notice, then there is no appeal. And so once he files that notice, we'll deal with it accordingly. We'll work with the Attorney General's office to represent the state, and we'll give them whatever support that they need in order to draft a response to that appeal.
But I guess given all the questions and you've all addressed it up here and how frustrating it was, your confidence in the security of this verdict and then this maximum sentence?
I feel confident in the verdict and the sentence. But again, I'm not on the Court of Appeals, so they'll have to make that decision if it comes to them.
And my
So- sorry, Ms.
Part of 2023, and one of the very first recall activities you addressed the court, possibly some other actors involved. Can you elaborate?
Well, at this point, we don't believe any other actors are involved. We don't have any evidence to support that. If evidence comes out in the future to support that, we'll obviously investigate that. We're not going to say, hey, no, we got the conviction. We're not listening to what you have to say. But at this point, we have no other evidence showing that any other actors were involved. If Richard Allen himself, the defendant, wants to come forward and give us more information, we'll gladly accept that.
Is that the reason for the amended charges?
The amended charges were we added the 2 counts of intentional murder. I did that because I thought it was appropriate at the time.
Thank you.
Yep. Hold on just a minute. Do you have a question?
Yeah, can you tell us, or maybe asking you to speak on behalf of other people, how it makes you feel with the guilty verdict and the sentence? Obviously, it's definitely you guys want it, but how does it make the entire team feel to get to where we are today?
I think, I hate to speak for everybody, but I think, I hate to be cliche and use the word justice, but justice, vindication, to show that the people standing behind me weren't liars, weren't corrupt. You know, those hate mails and hate messages continue to come in from some podcasters, some YouTubers. But I think just justification that, okay, we conducted a clean investigation. We presented the evidence as best we could. And the jury were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty. Yes.
Does this now mean that all the other men are cleared? Can you use that word?
Who is all the other men?
The other men that were looked at during the course of the investigation that you always said you couldn't say that they're cleared, can you now say they're cleared?
I may not use that word clear, but what I can tell you is we don't have any other evidence that ties them to the offense at this time. What do you mean looking into the Anthony Shots profile? Well, it didn't fade it out. He was convicted of what, 34, 35 counts? Not that we have any information of that right now.
Can you speak to the timing of today's sentence? Christmas is 5 days away. This is an emotional time of year for a lot
Sure.
of folks, and you've lost people and this kind of thing. Can you?
There's no significance in my mind to the timing. Once a person is convicted, they have a right to be sentenced within 30 days. And so I think the timing just was to try to get it in before the holidays because a lot of people do have time off and and the courthouses are closed. So there's no significance in my mind to the timing, but that it worked in everyone's schedule.
I just mean that it's the time of year when people are with people they love. And these 2 little girls are not with their families today.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but yeah, regardless of the time of the year, I imagine it's hard for the family to not be with the victims any day, whether it's somebody's birthday or somebody's anniversary, the other holidays we have out throughout the year. You know, Christmas is probably especially difficult. Again, I don't expect this verdict or the sentence to bring peace to the Patties, the Germans, or the Williams. I don't know what at this point could ever bring peace to a family member that loses a child or a parent that loses a child. What I hope is what I said. I hope it's a sigh of relief that this portion is over and that the conviction as it is now stands and that he's been sentenced to the maximum possible sentence. I hope that is a sigh of relief for them. And I hope that they now, like Superintendent Carter, can continue to heal and start to put this chapter behind them. That's why the plea to the media, please do not recirculate those pictures, because all that does, as Mr. Erskine said in his victim impact statement, it's like a scab or a wound that scabs over that is constantly ripped open. It's a constant reminder that our loved ones are put in this vulnerable position.
Make sure people face criminal charges or any kind of charges if they do publish or share those pictures.
My opinion is if the Indiana code allows criminal charges to be pressed for those kind of thing, if something comes in my office, criminal charges will be pursued if the criminal code allows it.
Superintendent,
Well, he can ask some questions after we're done here. So
Would you concede that there are some holes in this case or things that cannot be explained, that you guys were not able to explain?
I'm not going to concede that. No. Go ahead.
The judge spoke today to the defendant's conduct, specifically him rolling his eyes throughout
Sure.
the trial. Your take from your professional perspective, you tried other cases. I'm sure you've watched it throughout the case. What was your reaction down he was acting?
It's hard for me to see him because the way we were seated, especially during the trial, we were kind of all crammed. We call it the well. We're kind of all crammed in there. So it's kind of hard for me to focus on him. And the way I try cases is I'm pretty focused on what I'm doing, and I try not to get sucked into the reactions of other people. I like to watch what the jury's reactions to certain things are. And so a lot of the stuff that she commented on, I didn't see from him. What I did notice from him is what I said in my sentencing recommendation, just the lack of remorse and the lack of regret, the lack of emotion, I guess, when the images of the victims are put up on the screen. You know, as a father, when I see those things, and you've probably seen me up here and other places, I get a little emotional about it, and it's hard not to. And so the lack of those things kind of struck me. I didn't see him roll in the eyes of the judge, of course, but obviously never a good thing to do. So those are my comments on that.
What do you think? What
Oh.
piece of evidence, really quick, what
Just one more, then I'll be good. Yeah, sorry.
what piece of evidence, like from his demeanor to any parts of your case, what piece of evidence do you think did it for the jury and then also elicit this maximum sentence? What do you think got us here?
Oh gosh, I don't know what did it for the jury. I think it was a culmination of everything that we had. I think once you start stacking that evidence against him, and as it stacks up, it's hard to say that the defendant isn't bridge guy. And if you can accept that he's bridge guy, you can accept that he's the killer. And that to me is the bottom line. And so
If you have a message for Richard Allen, you could talk to him face to face right now after all this has been said and done, what would you say to him?
I think I would just echo what the superintendent said and what Sheriff Liggett said and some of the things that were said by the victims' families at court. If he truly wants to apologize to the families and admit to what he's done, now's the time to do that. So.
Can you say today that Carroll County is safer than it was 8 years ago?
I believe so.
What steps have been taken to make it safer?
Well, I think it's safer in the sense that people can have that sigh of relief to say, okay, we got the guy, we got the conviction. And so I think in that sense, it's safer. I've always thought I was born and raised here in Carroll County. I left, of course, to go to college and law school, but then I came back. And so this has always been my hometown. It's been my hometown for 3 generations or 4 generations in my family. And so I've always thought it's a safe place. And the things that Sheriff Liggett said, the thing that the victims said in the sentencing, that wasn't fluff, that we didn't lock our doors and that we knew everybody else. Those are true statements. This is a traditional, small, Midwestern town. And so I think it's always been safe. I think there can be that pressure off of people now to say, okay, I feel better. We got the guy, we got the conviction, and we know he's going to be in prison for 130 years. So
That'll be it for the questions today and for the press conference. I would just like to say thank you for all for coming out. As you go about your day, please remember the most important part of this entire thing, and that's the 2 girls that are behind us today. So as you go about your reporting, please do that and have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Right, that has to be one of the sickest things I've ever heard. The absolute bullshit that came out of their mouths. All 3 of them, 4 of them, however many of them there were. Absolute, complete and utter horse crap. Let me just show you this, shall I? All right. This is Tipton Lodge. The Free and Accepted Masons, Logansport. All right, congratulations to brother Nick McClelland, a member of Mount Zion Lodge, Camden, for receiving his Master Mason degree this evening in Tipton Lodge, Logansport. There he is, looking chill. Right, whose lodge is Tipton Lodge? Does anybody want to give me a guess on whose lodge Tipton Lodge is? Well, I'll tell you. It's Brad Holder. It's Brad Holder. There he is with his son Levi. There he is. Tipton Lodge for an accepted Mason's Logansport. Congratulations to Levi Holder, receiving the sublime degree of Master Mason, son of Senior Steward Brad Holder. I've shown these many times in videos. Many times. Brad Holder, Senior Steward at Tipton Lodge. This is March 18th, 2017. This is just a month after the murders. Not that I don't think it's relevant that Levi Holder got his Master Mason degree a month after the murders, but just saying. There we are. And again, for those not quite grasping what's going on here, congratulations to brother Nick McClelland for receiving his Master Mason degree this evening in Tipton Lodge, Logansport. There he is. Surprising, Brad Holder's not even in the photo. He probably took the photo. Senior Steward at Tipton Lodge. Anybody doesn't think there's anything dodgy going on with this guy, you are wrong. You are dead wrong. Dead wrong. And no, I don't think that the murders were some kind of Masonic thing. I don't. What I do think, though, is Nick McClelland is prepared to defend his brothers, because that's what Masons do. It's the brotherhood, yeah? That's why they call themselves brother. That's why they call themselves brother to each other. Because they're all brothers. It's a fraternity. And what do? When one of your brothers is in trouble, you protect him. Nick McClelland could protect his brother Brad, couldn't he? By taking the heat off him, making it go away. Don't look in this direction, look in that direction. Just saying. Just saying. And Rick Allen, I believe that tip was found because Kathy Shank was tasked with finding a patsy. Because the sheriff's election was coming up. Tony Liggett thought he was going to lose the sheriff's election. So, Kathy, you're a loyal employee or volunteer, whatever she was. Can you just... Kathy Shank doesn't even have to be in on it. Right? She doesn't even have to be on it. Tony Liggett, all he has to say is, Kathy, as you tidy away, can you just, go through the tips for any middle-aged men, like between maybe 40 to 50, just pull them out. Just pull them out and have a look at them. Any tips where, a middle-aged man between 40 and 50, thereabouts, was on the trails that day. Just take a look, just to see if we've missed anything. That's all. She doesn't have to be in on it. St. Kathy, she doesn't have to be in on it at all. It doesn't have to be a massive conspiracy. It's only a handful of people who need to know the truth. Right? Only a handful of people. The rest of them are just useful idiots. Yeah, McClelland looks like a used car salesman. Yeah, a really bad one, a really dodgy one. You wouldn't buy a car off that guy, would you? No. See, this is how conspiracies work. Just a handful of people know the truth. Everyone else is a useful idiot. Like, for example, the psychologist, what's her name? Oh, I've forgotten her name. Monica Waller. She was a useful idiot. The guards. Useful idiots. Even Jerry Holman. Useful idiot. All you have to have is a bunch of useful idiots prepared to go, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, and you've got a full-blown conspiracy that is successful. And in this case, it was successful because, in Nick McClelland's words, we got the guy, we got the conviction. Actually, you got a guy and you got a conviction. You just happened to have let your mate Brad Holder off the hook, allegedly, in my opinion. And for Doug Carter to bring up the Flora fire. So for those who missed it, when he said 6 girls, well, you got Abby and Libby, 2, and then you've got the 4 girls who died in the Flora fire just a few months before Delphi murders. 4 little girls were murdered as they slept. Except no one's ever been convicted for that. I'd like you to go back and listen to Patrick Westfall's interviews with Sleuth Intuition, because Patrick Westfall put him there. He put himself there at the time of the Flora fire. He put himself in Flora at the time of the Flora fire. And why would Patrick Westfall want 4 little girls dead? Well, they just happen to be black. And guess who Patrick Westfall doesn't like? Guess who he doesn't like? He doesn't like people who are not white, European descent, people that he could, rightly in his mind breed with. So anybody who isn't of his ilk, he hates them. Prove me wrong, Patrick. Prove me wrong. If you're listening, ever. Prove me wrong, Patrick. Sue me, Patrick. Sue me. Because then you've got to present your evidence that you're not the guy. That you're not the guy who was involved in the Flora fire. Putting yourself right there. Right there. A family, a mother and 4 kids who happen to be living in Flora. The wrong race, the wrong ethnic background for someone like Patrick Westfall, who dresses up his racism in the noble old religion of Old Norse that has been bastardized into a white supremacist cult. That's all it is. Good old-fashioned racism dressed up with runes. The real Odin, he will be reeling, absolutely reeling, the real Odin. The real Odin wasn't racist. So, what better way to send a message to all of those, people that you hate, Patrick, than burn 4 little girls in their beds? The other thing that Patrick doesn't like are race traitors. What are race traitors? They are white people who belittle themselves by having relations with people of a race or an ethnic group that Patrick doesn't like. Do you know what he says about those? He says black bears don't breed with polar bears. What do you say to that? What do you say to that, brother Nick? What do you say to that? And the way that they hang on to this, leaking of crime scene photos, no one will convince me that that wasn't set up by either the prosecution or a useful idiot connected to them who got Mitch Westerman, another useful idiot. Has Mitch Westerman been prosecuted? No. He was just a useful idiot. They've let him off with it, right? Sneaking into Andy Baldwin's office and snapping the crime scene photos that would just happen to be lying out in the war room there. No. All they've got to do is anger the public by saying, you know, I'll never forgive the defense for leaking the crime scene photos of those two little girls. You know, you're pulling on the heartstrings of every parent and grandparent in Indiana. Of course you are. It's a horrible thing to do. But it wasn't done by Andy Baldwin. It certainly wasn't done with Brad Rosie. He works in an entirely different town. How could he have anything to do with it? So why are you constantly going on about that? You know, crime scene photos. They've been out there for over a year now. Yes, it's not a nice thing to do. I wouldn't want my dead kid photos to be leaked. I wouldn't. But don't believe the narrative that Doug Carter and Brother Nick are spewing. Don't believe it. It was a setup. Again, for a successful conspiracy, you only need a handful of people who know the truth. Everyone else is a useful idiot. It's the conspirator's playbook. So in your world, in your life, don't be a useful idiot. Question everything. Even if it gets you into trouble, even if it loses you a job, even if it loses you friends, don't be a useful idiot, or else you end up in cases like this where two little girls do not get justice. Their families believe, hook, line and sinker, that justice has been served. So I'll forgive them for whatever they say, because they've been hoodwinked. They need to wake up. So I'm not going to forgive them forever. They need to wake up. But you've got an innocent man behind bars for the next 130 years. So let's just hope that the appeal gets somewhere. But I look, I don't want to be defeatist on a day, you know, this day of all days. I don't want to be defeatist, but I can imagine that Indiana corruption is very deep. That's all I'm going to say. Indiana corruption is very deep. And again, it's not that the entirety of the justice system in Indiana is in on this big conspiracy. No. You've got Brother Nick, who's prepared to turn a blind eye to what Brother Brad is up to. And then, you know, in the higher echelons of, you know, the Indiana justice system, you've got people who will do favors for other people. So you've got people who'll do a favor for Judge Gull. Look, when Richard Allen's case went all the way to the Supreme Court of Indiana, they weren't interested in saying anything negative about Judge Gull. They could have sorted it. The justices at the Supreme Court could have sorted it. They could have had Gull off, but they chose not to. Why? Because they're going to protect their fellow judges. Of course they are. So I just hope that there's enough people in the Court of Appeals who are not rubbing shoulders with the likes of Judge Gull and who are not the next useful idiot in this sorry saga. Do I know why Richard Allen does not have any remorse? He didn't do it. Why would you have remorse for something that you didn't do? If you've got remorse and you apologize, then you're saying you did it. You're going to say, I'm really sorry for what happened to those little girls, but I didn't do it. But you can guarantee if Rick Allen says anything of the kind, his words will be twisted. to make it look like he's guilty. So if Rick Allen has any sense at all about him, he will say nothing, zero, zilch. The gag order's lifted. Technically, Rick Allen could have a prison interview. You know, he could have journalists who will interview him in prison. No, Rick, please don't. Don't. Please do not. Yes, it's a trap. Absolutely a trap. Do not speak. And the defense, I would hope that they say very little as well, until at least all appeals have been exhausted. I expect that the defense will say something after today, but I hope that they keep their comments general and very to the point, like, you know, Rick is innocent. We hope to prove that in the Court of Appeal, and we hope that Rick will get another fair trial in due course. That's what I hope. That's my hope for today. So, waiting for the jury to speak. Yeah. Look, they could have spoken all along. As soon as they were excused on the day that they gave the verdict, they could have spoken. Judge Gull has absolutely zero legal ways to stop them speaking. She might have said, do me a favour and maybe don't speak to the press until after the sentencing. She might have worded it like that. But they were not gagged. But I hope they do. Don't think they'll speak. I doubt. I seriously doubt that many of them will speak. There might be one. There might be one or two. Because, look, I've been a juror on a murder trial. The first thing I did when I left that court after I'd been excused was Google the case. On the bus on the way home, I was Googling the case. So imagine the jurors in the Delphi case who Google this. But then again, I think what will happen is they'll dig in. I think they've given a guilty verdict and they'll dig in, because anybody who has a nagging doubt that, oh, hell's teeth, what did I just do? Well, it's a self-defensive mechanism that your brain does, is you dig into your position to prevent yourself from experiencing psychological pain. And it takes a very strong person to come out in public and say, I believe I was wrong. I believe I was wrong. So the best we can hope for is them speaking and telling us all the things that made them believe that Rick Allen was guilty. So it'll be another sick-making interview. Probably terrified, yeah. Who's going to raise their heads above the parapet? Who is going to raise their heads above the parapet knowing what we all know? No, I wouldn't speak out either. Who would raise their heads amongst the parapet? Who would? After this? Where is ISP officer Stephanie Thompson and her daughter? And yeah, well, they're in the ground. Why are they in the ground? Because they died in a suspicious fire. Who is ISP officer Stephanie Thompson, I hear you say? She's the one who gave the polygraph to Elvis Fields. No, sorry, Elvis Fields' sister. Elvis Fields refused to take a polygraph. His sister. She was the ISP polygrapher. And she died in a suspicious fire. Seems to be a little bit of a pattern developing here, doesn't there? With fires. I think Juror 5 will speak. That's very specific. That's oddly specific, Rhonda. Yes, another suspicious fire, yes. Look into the death of Stephanie Thompson and her innocent daughter who died in a fire. Yeah, she did all the polygraph. Yeah, she was the polygrapher for the Indiana State Police. Yeah, so she was on other polygraphs related to this case as well. Yeah, there's so much more. You don't even need to dig that deep to find this stuff. Not only because I've spoken about it all, so you don't need to dig any further than my channel. However, even without my channel, you don't need to dig that far to find this stuff. And I'm sure there's other stuff that we don't know. Yeah, the fire was declared an accident. Of course it was. Of course it was. They tried to declare the Flora fire an accident too. But no. An accelerant was used. I've got a video on the Flora fire. Hold on. I've only done the one video on Flora. Maybe it's a topic to revisit. Hold on, let me find the video. Yeah, Delphi and the Flora fire, the common denominator. 7.5k views a year ago. So, I think it got demonetized. That may be why it just didn't get any traction in the algorithm or anything. I think it got demonetized. I can't remember why it got demonetized, but I think it did. But anyway. So yeah, Delphi and the Flora fire, the common denominator. The lady Amber who was staffing the Marathon gas station died, along with the disappearance of the video of the 13th of February 2017 and the corrupted software. I actually didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. So there you are. You see, there's so much more. I didn't know that the person who worked at the Marathon gas station had died. No, the Flora fire was no accident. No. They need look no further than the whereabouts of Patrick Westfall, who put himself right there. He put himself right there. We've also got Greg Ferenczi. Greg Ferenczi, the FBI agent, the one who was investigating the Ordinists. He was shot outside of his office. Guess who by? An ex-corrections officer. You don't think that's suspicious at all? No. Then we've got Todd Click, another guy who investigated Ordinism, who they ended up arresting for, I don't know, stuff that he'd supposedly done in his job. Jesse Snyder, another guy who was set up by the people like Dan Dullard. Just can't make it up. I've got a video on him as well. Jesse Snyder. I know which video that is. The good old boys of Delphi. Good old boys. It's a live stream where I talked about Jesse Snyder, the good old boys of Delphi. So much. So much. So much. No, they don't have to be Ordinists. No, They don't have to be ordinists to be in on this. They have to be useful idiots, that's all. Like the people who are Masons in Tipton Lodge, these guys, they don't have to be ordinists. We're not equating Masons with ordinary people. Just like anybody in on this conspiracy doesn't have to be an ordinist. All you have to have is a few people with a vested interest in finding a patsy. And one of those people with a vested interest was Tony Liggett, because the sheriff's election was coming up. And then you get people like Nick McClelland who want to protect their brothers, because that's what Masons do. And one of his brothers is Brad Holder. So he's got a vested interest to protect his brother. And you get a few people who are in the know. That's all. And then everyone else is a useful idiot. And it goes for any case where there's a potential conspiratorial angle. That's the conspirator's playbook. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. But we're watching. We're watching. And we're watching. That's all I can say. Mason brother Doug Carter too. Yeah, look after each other. Look after each other. The families, unfortunately, are also useful idiots. But they've got that, they've got that emotional tie. Of course they do. So when Nick McClelland tells them that they've got their guy, they believe him. Bloodlust Judge Dina, yeah. I'd like to know the truth of why Judge Dina recused himself on the very day that he signed the order to send Rick Allen to Westville. I'd like to know the truth to that. Because I'm sure there's way more to that than, oh, I'm scared of the public and all the bloodlust. I'm sure there's more. But we're never going to know, are we? We're never going to know the truth to all that. Exactly. Even reporters question other potential suspects. They do, because something does not feel right. If you just look at the situation with an open mind, something here does not feel right. Even if you've done absolutely no research and done no digging whatsoever, and you don't even believe what the defense has been saying, something doesn't feel quite right. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So I'm going to go, and before I do, I just want to play this. I just want to play this for those who think that I'm Navalist True Crime. So this was posted. I posted this a year ago on Michelle Walks. By the way, in less than half an hour, Michelle Walks. Check out Cold Case Christmas, episode 20. So I'll let you go, but I'm going to play this first. So I'll bid you farewell. I'll sign out right now. And then for those who want to stay for an extra 4 minutes to listen to this video, I am Navalist True Crime. Oh, this is, just a way just to lighten the mood as you're leaving. So thank you all. Thank you, mods, as always. Thank you to those that donated earlier on. Welcome to the new members, especially thank you to those that donated during the press conference. I didn't want to stop the presser to, thank those people, but thank you so much. You're very generous. And yeah, with that, let's play out with I Am Novelist True Crime. Guys, it seems that I have a confession to make. It seems that my secret is out, that I've been living a double life. Well, a triple life if you count Sleuth Dog. This super sleuth has rumbled me. I've tried to deny it, but with this response, ... it seems that I really do have to come clean. I am really Novelist True Crime. So when this person says, I loved your work under Novelist, I thank you. Are you going to merge channels or delete the Novelist account? Well, not really sure you can merge channels. I don't know that that's a thing that YouTube does. But no, I'm not going to delete Novelist True Crime. But what can I say? You're just too sleuthy for me. Novelist True Crime. So this is now my channel. And I haven't posted on Novelist True Crime for 3 months now. Do you know why? It's because it was becoming increasingly difficult to make videos in Ireland with my husky and simultaneously make videos in Lancashire, England with my 3 dogs who are not huskies. Let's go back 3 months and see what each of us was doing back then. See, 3 months ago, right here, I was walking through a cornfield about 30 miles away from Manchester, England. What was I doing in this video? Oh, I was back in the cornfield there. Where was I there? Oh, I was in the woods there. I was in the woods. And I guess those woods, to the untrained eye, could look like Ireland. Okay, that could look like the woods near me, couldn't it? But no, not actually. This is me. This is me. That's my husky right there. That could be the same woods, couldn't it? It could be exactly the same woods, just with different dogs. So instead of being in Ireland, I could actually be anywhere where there's woods, like here, couldn't I? So yeah, you rumbled me. I am Novelist True Crime. But yeah, flying to and from these different areas was tiring me out, guys. So I just had to stop posting under the Novelist account. That's exactly what I did. And I guess that when I appeared on Novelist True Crime's panel, I was just talking to myself, wasn't I? Because it can happen to anybody. If the worst happened and a member of your family went missing or was murdered or something really horrible happened to them, would you want your child to see people talking about their parents in that way when you know that they're innocent? And the answer would be no. Simple as that. The answer would be no.
Yeah.
They don't think it through.
No, not at all. And the power now of YouTube and the algorithm, if people and kids in the area are Googling something, it will more than likely filter through to them. And what breaks my heart as well is some of the comments that were said to the siblings in school. Like, kids can be naive and just some really nasty, horrible comments